strife at home. There were a lot of difficulties because in India, when you want to become transition from being a boy to a woman, of course, comes with a lot of judgment, prejudices, and a lot of opinions. I didn't want to run away from home. I didn't want to be a rebel. I wanted my parents on my side. So it took me a while to convince them. A lot of emotional, deep, meaningful conversations, fights, emotional tears, a lot of understanding as well, because I wanted my parents to have a full understanding of what I was going through. I was very, very young. I was 15 or 16 at that point. That's how my journey began, by convincing my parents, starting hormones, later on completely going to the gender reassignment surgery. It was very difficult because in India, everybody wants to second guess your intentions. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody wants to attach some kind of prejudice to your decisions, especially if it's a drastic decision of transitioning from one gender to another. But I believe that, if God had a plan and if God made, God willing, there will be a meaningful place for me in society. And sure enough, I fought hard. I fought the good fight. I believed in my talents and always kept my dignity, never got into petty fights, never really indulged in small talk. Whenever people asked me uncomfortable, very crude questions, I kind of avoided it. And I think in my work, in my life, people found answers. And I think I went for mainstreaming. I didn't indulge in the stereotypical behavior, what people expect of a certain community. Avoided it. And here I am. I think in my work, God has been very kind. People have been very kind. And I think once you're good at what you do, you're articulate, sensible, intelligent, and very honest about who you are, I think, you pave your own way to success, you pave your own way to acceptance, and that's how it happened for me. So as I began this live, the phone has been buzzing, there's been a lot of questions. I must thank the Indian Youth Congress for this opportunity to talk to all of you. So I'm going to answer a couple of your questions. What motivated you to join the Congress party? For me, as a journalist, I always was into campaign journalism. As a journalist and as an editor, I've covered the tsunami, I've covered issues of refugees abroad, covered the Iraq war, I've done lifestyle stories. So I've always campaigned for, public interest, public welfare. And I really thought, why not join politics to shape policy and to be a part of shaping policy? Because there's a lot of disdain towards politics in our country amongst the youth, and I really feel that needs to change. We need to be part of the system to change the system, or to be, to ask for our rights without hesitation. We need to be part of politics. And I think to champion the good cause, I think politics is a good platform. And initially I was inducted into the BJP by Mr. Amit Shah. It was a very bad association because within 2 weeks I exited the party because there was no space for free-thinking individuals in that party. When I did come out of BJP, Madam Jayalalitha made me the official spokesperson for AIADMK in Tamil Nadu. I served the party as long as she was alive, and after she passed away, I kind of stepped out of politics. But I was in a conference in Kolkata about federalism, and I met a very inspiring, dynamic woman called Sushmita Dev, who is the MP of Lok Sabha MP and the president of All India Mahila Congress. We had an amazing chat, and I think everything that she said to me was extremely inspiring. And her views for women, her views for India and for the youngsters really inspired me. And during our conversation, she mentioned, why not join the Congress party? So I said, yeah, sure, let me think about it. She went back to Delhi, got very busy. I went back to Chennai, got busy because I started making documentaries. I made a documentary on the life of prison inmates in one of South India's most notorious prisons. But 3 months or 4 months later, Sushmita ji called me saying, Rahul ji really wants to give you an opportunity to work with the Congress. And she facilitated a meeting with Rahul ji, and that's how Congress happened for me. And I think a lot of times when you meet politicians, when you meet powerful people, there is a certain stereotypical way that they behave with transgender women. Either they have extreme sympathy or pity, or they're very dismissing of your fight and kind of look at you as somebody who's on the sidelines. But when I met Rahul ji, it was very, very refreshing. His body language, the way he showed interest in my career, the roadmap I had for women and what I wanted to do in politics. So I felt really comfortable, and when he appointed me as the National General Secretary of the Mahila Congress, it was very emotional for me because all the prejudices, all the harsh talk, all the cruel, baseless things that were said, I think it was, it come a full circle. It was validation to me that all the decisions I've made have culminated in something so mainstream and so reassuring. So it was a very emotional moment. And that day I took a pledge that, I will continue to take up any challenge the party gives me and continue to serve the people of India with conviction and dignity. More questions. According to you, what are the critical problems women face in India today? It's a very good question. I think women in India for the last 4.5 years have suffered inexplicable insults, humiliation, harassment. There's been a great amount of loss of employment, especially 8.8 million women have lost jobs. A lot of crimes against women, rapes against women have increased about 4 times. And all the perpetrators of rape, who the Prime Minister boldly and pompously says have been, given the death penalty and executed, actually proved to be a lie. Whether it's Unnao, whether it's Kathua, whether it's Hasani's killer in Tamil Nadu, whether it's Nandini, all of those killers, all of those murderers and rapists are languishing in jail. So the Prime Minister basically lied on that. And because of divisive politics, because of the gender injustice of this current government, women suffer inexplicable insults on a day-to-day basis. I don't think budgetary allocation even for Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is justified. It's 5 paise per girl child, whereas the Prime Minister spends 56% of the budget allocation of that program on his self-advertising. Also, I think we need a Prime Minister who doesn't spend 64 billion on his foreign travel. We need an Indian Prime Minister who lives in India and legislates for India and implements for India. So most definitely women have suffered under this government, and I think the whole of India is making a program. I think Pradhan Mantri Hatao Yojana is what people are devising, and it will happen in 2019. अगर देश की अधिकांश महिलाएं शिक्षित हो और उनके पास रोजगार हो तो कितना अहम कदम होगा महिला सशक्तिकरण की दिशा में. Definitely, I think education of women, महिलाओं की education बहुत important है, especially rural women. तभी उनको access to employment होगा. और I think right to education act को पूरी तरह से दिल से implement करना चाहिए. I think budgetary allocations को अभी I think we need transparency in how the budget allocated for the girl child and girls education is being spent. I think it's not good enough to have a vociferous Raksha Mantri who just screams in parliament. We need real empowerment of the girl child at block, district, national, state levels. And that can happen through education, that can happen through awareness, that can happen through, be the completely inclusive government which doesn't have gender disparity. I think education is a very important part in that direction. And the way in which the HRD ministry was handled by an ineffective minister at the start and continues to be, handled that way, we need to kind of relook at the way HRD functions. And I think once this government is sent home, the Congress government will do everything in its power to put the girl child in focus and the girl child education in focus. Next question. Do you think the Modi government has been successful to deliver on promises for women and transgender community? I've already answered the women part, so I'll answer the transgender part. Most definitely not. I think Modi ji's government was the most cowardly and the most fearful government, I would say, in standing up for human dignity and human rights. When it was time to speak up for IPC 377, which is a human rights movement, which is about human dignity, they had absolutely no courage to give dignity and give human rights to a very disadvantaged and deprived community, which has always been looked at as a micro community. I think Modi ji displayed absolute cowardice, and his entire team of ministers who are so, explicit with displaying bravado, I think failed LGBT community in India. And if you look at the transgender bill in its current form, it's absolutely an apology of a transgender bill. I think it's very vague and it's very superficial, especially because it looks at transgender community just leading rehabilitation. Before we talk about rehabilitation, we have to talk about equal employment opportunity, equal access to education, medical care, because for a transgender woman or a man to transition from a boy to girl or a girl to boy, there are a lot of medical expenses. To transition comfortably and to transition convincingly, to avoid insults and to avoid harassment, we need medical subsidies. So that the bill doesn't talk about medical subsidies. When transgender women are thrown out of homes, ostracized, they need reservations in housing, otherwise they're left on the street prone to sexual violence. The bill doesn't talk about that. We need access to education. Without education, there's no employment opportunities for us to go out and look for work. So the bill doesn't talk about reservation in education. Also, the bill kind of gets into the home space and says, you know, a group of transgender women cannot live together. I think that's very unfair to tell you what your family arrangement should be, because when transgender women are sent out of home, it is the other transgender women in the community who house them, who groom them, who help them out in whatever way they can. To enter somebody's home and say you can't live together, I think it's completely being a nanny state, which is completely getting into people's homes and lives. Definitely, I oppose the transgender bill in its current form. Also, I want to draw to your notice that even after the courts have legislated for, amended IPC 377 and legislated for the LGBT communities, the government still continues to have the responsibility of publicizing the judgment, running awareness workshops, sensitizing government employees, which has not happened. So I feel this government is basically against LGBT communities and minorities. I think they have a very skewed vision of what inclusion should be. So most definitely, I don't support Mr. Narendra Modi's idea of inclusion, and I don't think he understands what true inclusion means. प्रियंका गांधी जैसी महिला शक्ति के राजनीति में आने से महिलाओं की आवाज किस हद तक देश की राजनीति में गूंजने की संभावना है? प्रियंका जी एक कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ता और कांग्रेस हार्ड वर्किंग कांग्रेस वर्कर रह चुकी है. प्रियंका गांधी जी बहुत इंस्पायरिंग रह चुकी है, बिकॉज जो भी लोग कहते हैं इतनी डिग्निटी और इतना क्या बोलते हैं सिंसेरिटी के साथ अपना काम करती रही है. एंड आई थिंक टू बी समबडी विद सच हाई स्टैचर एंड दैट काइंड ऑफ अ lineage and still be so humble and dignified about all that is being said about her, I think displays true leadership, true courage, and true focus. I think we need focused leadership. So definitely, I think women draw inspiration from Priyanka ji, and I think Priyanka ji is fully in the campaign fray and electoral fray right now to support Rahul Gandhi ji to become Prime Minister. So we want to strengthen our hands, all of us in the Mahila Congress and all of the women across India want to strengthen our hands in her fight for justice for women. India has been awaiting the women's reservation bill. What do you think is the leading cause behind the delay in passing the bill? I think to answer this in one sentence, I think it's a lack of courage and lack of conviction, lack of spine on the BJP government. I think everybody knows the history of how this bill has come to be and how the Congress has pushed for it. BJP has tokenistic ministers who scream in parliament who are women, but apart from that, they don't do anything for women. So it's the BJP's lackadaisical attitude that has prevented women's reservation bill. And of course, BJP is led by an ideology, by an organization like the RSS, which has its doors shut for women. Next question. It has been reported that more than 23 million girls drop out of school annually because of lack of toilets in school and proper menstrual hygiene management facilities. How long will this continue? It's a very good question. I think this should not continue for long, and hence I ask all of you to vote sensibly in 2019 and please replace an anti-woman, anti-girl child government, the Modi government, and we all must campaign and work very hard to make Rahul Gandhi ji the Prime Minister, because only a true progressive new age and a leader with a sense of balance and sense of gender justice can bring about true good schemes and policies for women. Definitely, I think we will see that happening in 2019, and there will be a lot more access to toilets, access to education. And also, in this question, I also want to answer, I read a survey today in Tamil Nadu especially, where BJP and AIDMK are aligned. 40% of girls between the age of, 40% of girls getting married are between the ages of 11 to 15. So a lot of child brides in Tamil Nadu, and it's also because there's a lot of lack of education and abject poverty in rural areas. So I feel to upgrade the economic slabs of families in rural areas, and also empowering girls to access education and implementing the Right to Education Act in a just manner will solve the problem of inequality in education, inequality in access to conveniences. So most definitely 2019 we hope for a change, because Modi will be sent home. What is your first priority as the General Secretary of the Mahila Congress? As General Secretary of the Mahila Congress, my key aim will be to also develop leadership in the block and district and state levels, also work towards gender justice and make sure women's voices are heard at all levels on equal platforms as men. Also bringing about visibility of the work of the Congress Mahila Karyakarta, because I think they work really hard for the party. Apart from that, I think also to encourage youth young women to join politics, because you are the future. You have to bring about change, and if you don't ask for change, if you don't be part of the change, we're not going to see any difference. So that will be my key focus. Also working on the communication aspect of women's issues and putting out there interesting talking points and news points where, you know, women need to be made aware of policies that affect them and issues that affect them. So most definitely, that would be my focus as well. अगर राहुल गांधी जी प्रधानमंत्री बनते हैं तो देश की महिलाओं का क्या फायदा होगा? बहुत सारा फायदा होगा. जैसे मैं बता रही थी आपको, I think Rahul Gandhi ji is truly progressive, new age, has a very strong approach to women empowerment. He doesn't dilly-dally about it. He's always said we need more women leaders. He even on a stage said 50% of women leaders and women members within the Congress to take leadership roles. So most definitely Rahul Gandhi ji is pro-women. He's always given Mahila Congress and all the Congress Mahila Karyakartas equal space to work creatively, diligently, dynamically with roadmaps for each individual. And in the last 1 year, since he's taken over as Congress president, there's been a remarkable increase in the number of women coming into the party, and women within the party promoted upwards. So most definitely there will be a huge change. And also I think he's an accessible leader. I think youngsters today expect an accessible leader who will hear their concerns. And the Shakti program is one such initiative which is putting all of us directly in touch with Rahul Gandhi ji, and he's responding to us. So most definitely there will be positive change for women under Rahul Gandhi ji. Finally, your message for the youth of India. I don't know whether I'm that great to give you advice, but I can give you a leaf out of my own book. I've done it on tough turf with no godfather on my own terms. So I really believe if you have the conviction to follow your dreams, and if you really believe in something, go for it. I think put your heart, mind and soul into it. Don't be belittled by small talk. Don't be distracted by people who say you can't do it. Because no matter what you do, there will be people who want to pull you down. Rise above, fight the good fight, and fight for a good cause. Because I think that is very reassuring, and that's really what brings us happiness. So I wish you all a lot of luck, and I think you, the youth of India, are the decisive majority, and I think you need to vote sensibly in 2019. So I'll leave you with this message of let's all join our hands for a better India, and let's install Rahul ji as Prime Minister of this country.